Bessie Smith, Duchess of the Blues. Queen of the Blues. Empress of the Blues. One of my favourite blues singers. She had a very strange way of starting her song. Whatever speed that the accompanist came in at, she would always slow down. This little story from Jazz Anecdotes by Bill Crow is about when she was in high society by those who like to catch a jazz singer now and again. Herman Autry worked with Bessie at the Philadelphia Theatre in 1928. He said, Bessie was married to a detective, Jack G. He was a tough man, you know. Jack told me this story, that Bessie used to lay there in bed with a butcher's knife, telling him, when you go to sleep, I'm going to kill you. And Jack would be lying there with his 45 in his hand and say, you start over here and I'm going to blow your brains out. She says, you go to sleep and start snoring, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to stick you with this knife, man. I said, well, Jack, how can you sleep? He says, oh, she ain't going to do it. Bessie was near 6 foot and big and strong, had great big arms, you know. She looked like she could pick up Jack G up by the collar with one hand, and Jack G wasn't a little man, but oh, Bessie, she was a nice person. Chris Albertson wrote of Bessie's appearance at a party given in New York by writer and jazz aficionado Carl Van Vecken. Wrapped in a white ermine coat, Bessie arrived at the Van Vecken apartment with her accompanist, Portia Granger, and her niece and companion, Ruby Walker. She breezed past the welcoming party and into the room beyond. Trailing behind her, Ruby wore a mink coat which belonged to Bessie and was far too big for her. Ignoring a chorus of salutatory, "Oh, Miss Smith," Bessie, cold sober at this point, did not come to a halt until someone mentioned a drink. Van Vecken, radiating the pleasure of a celebrity hunter who has at last captured his prey of the moment, beamed, "How about a lovely, dry martini?" "What? A dry martini?" bellowed Bessie. "Ain't you got some whiskey, man? That'll be the only way I'll touch it. I don't know about no dry martinis, nor wet ones either." "Of course," said Van Vecken. "I think we can conjure up something like you like," he purred, and disappeared to fulfill the request. Soon Granger and Bessie, drink in hand, were marching towards the piano. Mumbling something about her throat being dry, Bessie gulped down her drink and handed her empty glass to Van Vecken. Somebody asked her what she was going to sing. "Don't you worry about it," she said. "My piano player knows." She sang 6 or 7 numbers, each one followed by enthusiastic applause, and usually preceded by her request for another one of these. Each time she handed Van Vecken an empty glass. He refilled it eagerly. Only Ruby and Granger knew the effect the refills were having on Bessie. "This is it," announced Bessie as she went into her final number. She was feeling her liquor at this point, and her 2 companions were watching her closely, knowing it wouldn't take much to set her off. As soon as the last number was finished, Granger walked over to Ruby. Momentarily shedding his genteel demeanour, "Let's get her out of here quick before she shows her ass." Draping the ermine over her shoulders, they fell into position on either side of Bessie and began what they hoped would be a graceful exit. All went well until an effusive woman stopped them a few steps from the front door. It was Bessie's hostess, Fania Marinoff Van Vecken. "Miss Smith," she said, throwing her arms round Bessie's massive neck and pulling it forward, You're not leaving without kissing me goodbye. That was all Bessie needed. Get the fuck away from me, she roared, thrusting her arms forward and knocking the woman to the floor. I ain't never heard such shit. In the silence that followed, Bessie stood in the middle of the foyer, ready to take on the whole crowd. Granger was the first to move. Gently he took one of Bessie's arms and told Ruby to take the other. Followed by the horrified stares of the guests, the two of them escorted the Empress out of the door and down the richly carpeted hall to the elevator. Van Vecken, having helped his indignant wife to her feet, followed closely behind. It's all right, Miss Smith, he said softly, trailing behind the threesome in the hall. You were magnificent tonight. They had reached the elevator before Bessie realised that she had actually been led away. She threw her arms in the air, almost knocking Ruby and Granger to the floor, and started shouting again, What the fuck are you all pulling me all over the damn place for? When the elevator door opened, she stopped shouting, raised her head high, marched past the startled operator, and sank to the floor in the corner of the car. I don't care if she dies, said Granger, as he sighed and straightened the tam on his head. A tam is a man's wig.